Something's seriously wrong with this car, mate. It's the worst it's ever been. And when Lewis Hamilton speaks up like that, you know it's bad. He didn't sugarcoat it. He didn't hide behind the usual polite phrases or corporate diplomacy. No, the moment the checkered flag dropped in Barcelona, his voice cracked through the team radio. And what he said? Well, it left zero room for misinterpretation. I believe we've got something wrong with this car, mate. It's the worst it's ever been. That wasn't just frustration. It was a statement of pure exasperation. A seven-time world champion, stuck deep in what he called the worst race I've experienced balance-wise, racing for Ferrari, the most legendary team in Formula One. And what did he have to show for it? Absolutely nothing. Just regret. Just radio silence. And yet, another weekend to forget. But here's the kicker. This wasn't just about a poor result. This was just the tip of the iceberg. An iceberg that's been steadily building beneath the surface for weeks, made of missed opportunities, broken communication, and a car that simply refuses to behave the way Hamilton needs it to. And at the heart of this storm, a growing divide between driver and engineer that could very well define the rest of Hamilton's debut season with Ferrari. Because as much as Ferrari's iconic red suit glimmers with history and hope, things behind the scenes are looking pretty messy. And in this video, we're about to take you deep inside the disaster that was the Spanish Grand Prix. We're going to break down how Ferrari's strategy completely unraveled, why Hamilton's relationship with his race engineer, Riccardo Adami, is now under its greatest strain. This isn't just another race review. It's an in-depth look into the most fragile moment of Hamilton's Ferrari journey so far. And if things don't change soon, well, the damage might be too much to repair. But before we dive deeper, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to ring the notification bell. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll understand just how close Ferrari is to squandering the biggest signing of the decade, and you won't want to miss a single detail. It all started with something that's been in painfully short supply for Lewis Hamilton this season. Hope. Barcelona was supposed to be the turning point. The track, the conditions, the preparation. It all pointed to a potential breakthrough. And for a moment, it felt like we were witnessing the Hamilton we've known and loved for years. In qualifying, he was calm, composed, and laser-focused. P5 on the grid, ahead of Charles Leclerc and just behind the McLarens. A clean start, a solid first corner, and a bold move on George Russell set the tone. For the first few laps, it felt like Ferrari had finally cracked the code. But that feeling, it evaporated almost instantly. The car that had given Hamilton so much confidence on Saturday disappeared the very next day. From the very first lap, the SF25 turned into a nightmare. The balance? Gone. The rear? Twitchy, unstable. The grip? Completely absent. He was constantly adjusting, constantly fighting to hold things together. What had felt like a glimmer of hope the day before had quickly become undrivable. Every corner was a battle. Every throttle input demanded hesitation. And as much as Hamilton tried to adapt, he was soon driving a race of survival, not performance. Then came that all-too-familiar moment. Behind him, Leclerc was clearly faster. The pit wall didn't waste a second. The message came through loud and clear. Swap positions. Hamilton didn't hesitate. He didn't argue. He simply moved aside. But it wasn't the move that was telling. It was the silence that followed. No objections, no comments, just silence. And that silence? That was the real story. This wasn't about playing the team game. This wasn't about being a good teammate. No, this was about something much deeper. A driver who has spent his entire career fighting back against the system when things aren't right, now simply obeying without question. And when a driver like Hamilton, a man who has stood tall for years, doesn't even flinch at such a call, well, that's when you know something is broken. And that was just the beginning. Midway through the Grand Prix, a new issue reared its head. Hamilton reported a shifting issue, a potential gearbox problem that needed urgent attention. But what followed was anything but decisive. Confusion set in. Adami, his race engineer, asked him to try the downshift again. And Hamilton's response? Sharp. I just told you it's working. When instructed to pit, Hamilton dismissed it with a casual, I can do the start, dude. It's fine. It's fine. This wasn't a debate. This wasn't even a disagreement. It was a dismissal, a clear sign that the driver no longer believes the pit wall has control of the situation. This isn't about a single radio exchange. It's about a growing trend that's now impossible to ignore. Ever since Hamilton joined Ferrari, his dynamic with Adami has felt forced, disconnected, the kind of relationship that lacks the fluid, instinctive trust we saw for years with Peter Bonington at Mercedes. It's not just that they're not aligned, it's that they don't seem to be operating on the same wavelength at all. We've seen the cracks before in Miami. When the team hesitated to order Leclerc to move aside, Hamilton responded with sarcasm. "Have a tea break while you're at it." It was played off as humor, but it masked real irritation. Then came Monaco, where he crossed the line in fifth and asked over the radio, "Are you upset with me or something?" and got no reply. Complete silence. Afterwards, Ferrari blamed radio issues. Hamilton defended Armani in the press, but no one watching believed that was the full story, because communication doesn't lie, body language doesn't lie, and a driver asking his engineer if he's upset with him is not just trying to clarify a technical message. He's expressing a fundamental breakdown in their connection, and that kind of fracture doesn't fix itself overnight. And if you're finding this breakdown as fascinating and as worrying as we are, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Because what happens next, especially at the Canadian Grand Prix, could either pull this project back from the edge or send it into total freefall. Fast forward to Spain, and suddenly all of it is out in the open. There were no catastrophic errors, no crashes, no dramatic failures, just a slow, painful unraveling of a race weekend that began with promise and ended in resignation. But if you think that result meant anything to him, his post-race interviews made it abundantly clear it did not. "Worst race I've experienced balance-wise, I have no idea why it was so bad." 0. That was his answer when asked about positives from the race. And when he was asked where he goes from here, what's next, he didn't say Canada. He didn't mention the team or the simulator or the factory. He said home, one word. And yet, it said everything. That wasn't fatigue. That wasn't just disappointment. That was detachment. A driver emotionally checked out. And that is perhaps the most dangerous outcome of all. Now, Ferrari will point to upgrades. They'll talk about the changes coming to the rear of the SF25, upgrades specifically designed to address the instability that's been plaguing Hamilton all season. On paper, it sounds like progress. But what good are upgrades if the person meant to extract performance from them no longer trusts the people guiding him? You can adjust aero, you can bring new components, you can shave off lap time. But none of that matters if a driver doesn't believe the garage is fully behind him. Or worse, if he no longer feels heard. Hamilton didn't come to Ferrari for results like this. He didn't leave Mercedes to finish P6 and be told to move aside for his teammate week after week. He came to Ferrari for a new chapter, for legacy, for something historic. But right now, what he's getting feels far more like a mismanaged experiment than a championship project. And it's not just the performance. It's the feeling, the tone of voice, the words he chooses or doesn't choose after a race, the lack of fight, the emotional flatline that tells you far more than any stopwatch or sector time ever could. Because when Lewis Hamilton, one of the most passionate, instinctive, and emotionally driven drivers in the history of the sport, no longer speaks up in the car, no longer argues, no longer believes, that's when you know something has gone very, very wrong. Feeling that frustration, too. If you're wondering what's really going on behind the scenes at Ferrari, now's the time to let your voice be heard. Tell us what you think about Hamilton's situation and if you think Ferrari are at risk of losing him mentally before the season's even halfway through. And now let's get into what this means for Ferrari's next steps and whether there's still a way back for Hamilton and the Scuderia. So now everything hangs in the balance. Does Hamilton push back and demand fundamental change within Ferrari? Do the team bosses step in before things fall apart completely? Or are we already past the point of no return, witnessing week by week the slow unraveling of a dream that never had a chance to become reality? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Should Hamilton take control of this situation? Can Ferrari still course correct before the season slips away? Or have they already lost the most important thing a team can give a driver, confidence? And if you've stayed with us this far, thank you. Don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell because what's coming next in Canada could be the moment that defines this entire saga. you won't want to miss. When Suki asked her if she minded being called that, Robin's response was a casual, whatever, I don't care. That kind of shrug feels less like indifference and more like emotional distance, like she's checked out or maybe just doesn't want to engage in the family's pain. It's wild to think that someone so central to the family drama could come off as this detached. Robin has long been portrayed as the favorite, the one Cody's closest to, the one who somehow manages to avoid the full brunt of criticism from the rest of the wives. But that status comes with a price, and it's clear the other wives feel it, especially Janelle, who doesn't just dislike Robin. She seems almost done with her. There's a moment in the tell-all when Janelle openly says she doesn't want to be friends with Robin. That's a huge deal because in past seasons, Janelle tried to keep a level of civility with everyone. Now, she's saying plainly, I don't like them. I don't want to know them. That kind of honesty hits hard because it signals a fracture that isn't just about the show's drama. It's real, deep, and probably painful. Robin's behavior around family moments, especially something as sensitive as Garrison's funeral, added fuel to that fire. The rumors about what happened there, like her pouring dirt in his grave knowing he hated her, are shocking. Even if we don't know all the details, the fact that those rumors exist shows how fractured and raw these relationships have become. It's not just family drama anymore, it's family wounds laid bare for everyone to see. When you watch Robin during the tell-all, you get this sense that she's holding on to her place fiercely, almost at all costs. The sacred cow label isn't just about favoritism. It's about power and protection. And if she's emotionally disconnected or unwilling to engage with the hurt she's caused, it only widens the gap between her and the other wives. But it's also worth noting that Robin did try, at least in the beginning, to be part of the family. Janelle acknowledges that. But it's clear that effort didn't last, and maybe it was never enough to bridge the growing divide. The dynamic between Robin and the rest of the wives now feels less like a blended family and more like a battlefield. And what about Mary? She's a whole different energy. She's not in the thick of this conflict the way Janelle and Robin are. Instead, we get glimpses of her life outside the drama, like her recent trip to Boston to see Mel Robbins. That solo trip and her enthusiasm for positive thinking shows a side of Mary that's trying to find peace amid the chaos. She's searching for something beyond the family tension, something hopeful, maybe even healing. But even Mary's distance can feel like a silent statement. She's not diving into the messy confrontations. She's stepping back, focusing on herself. And that contrast between Mary's quiet self-care and the explosive tell-all battles highlights just how fractured this family really is. The whole picture is messy and painful. It's not just a story about plural marriage anymore. It's about what happens when loyalty, love, and family ties become tangled with resentment, favoritism, and emotional survival. Robin's untouchable status, Cody's possible villain act, and Janelle's raw honesty are all part of this unraveling. This isn't just entertainment. It's a real look at how people try to hold on, break free, or just survive in a family that's been pushed to its limits. And as the tell-all unfolds, it's clear that the story isn't just about what happened. It's about who's brave enough to finally say it out loud. Now, let's turn our attention to Cody, the man at the center of so much of this turmoil. The way Janelle and others talk about him in this tell all feels different, almost like they're trying to decode who he really is now compared to who he used to be. There's this idea floating around, especially from Janelle, that maybe Cody is playing the role of the villain on purpose. Sounds wild, right? But hear me out. Janelle suggests that Cody might be acting harsher, meaner, almost like he's trying to take the heat off Robin, the so-called sacred cow. If that's true, it adds a layer of strategy to what we've seen. A kind of smoke-ox scree being genuinely cruel, Cody could be shaping a persona to protect someone else. That possibility makes the drama more complicated, because it's not just black and white anymore. Is Cody really the bad guy? Or is he playing a part to shield Robin from criticism? But then again, some fans feel like Cody's mean streak is just who he is now, a far cry from the man he seemed to be during earlier seasons. Remember when Sister Wives was more about family growth and cooperation? That vibe feels miles away now. Watching him during the tell-all, there's this coldness, a toughness that make it easy to see why the other wives are fed up. Janelle even says she can be cordial with Cody, but leaves Robin completely out of that. That tells us how much the tension is focused not just on one person, but on the relationship dynamics that have shifted so dramatically. It's clear that Cody and Robin's closeness, combined with their emotional distance from the others, is a big part of what's driving this wedge. When we think about Cody's role in the family, it's hard not to remember all the past struggles, the divorces, the shifting loyalties, the moments when the family seemed to fall apart. His relationships with the wives have always been complicated, but this new villain angle adds another twist to the story. Is he intentionally stepping into a darker role? Or is he just someone changed by the pressure and pain of the past? The speculation around Cody keeps fans talking and guessing. It's a reminder that in reality TV, sometimes what we see is only part of the picture, and the real drama is in what's left unsaid or hidden beneath the surface. What do you think? Is Cody the real villain here, or is he covering for someone else? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this question is at the heart of the tell-all's biggest mystery. The answers might change how we see the entire Brown family story. Now, let's focus on Robin, the woman everyone keeps calling the sacred cow. This nickname says so much about how she's viewed within the family and by fans watching at home. From what we've seen, Robin holds a special, almost untouchable place, especially in Cody's eyes. But that status has caused a lot of tension with the other wives, especially Janelle. During the tell-all, Robin's attitude comes across as pretty detached. When asked if she minded being called the sacred cow, she basically shrugged it off with a casual, "Whatever, I don't care." That response didn't sit well with many, including Janelle, who seems to see Robin as emotionally distant and unwilling to truly engage with the family's struggles. There's also that moment that really shocked viewers when Robin poured dirt in Garrison's grave. Garrison was a family member who, as we know, had a difficult relationship with Robin. Many people, including Janelle, found this act deeply disrespectful, especially since it happened after his passing and at a time when the family was already dealing with heavy emotions. It felt like a symbolic moment showing just how fractured and painful the relationships have become. Robin's position as the favored wife in Cody's eyes isn't new, but what's striking now is how isolated that favoritism makes her from the rest of the family. It's like she's in a bubble, separated by loyalty and coldness. Janelle's refusal to even be friends with Robin speaks volumes. It's not just dislike, it's a profound lack of trust and connection. This distance has shaped the family drama in huge ways. Robin's seeming indifference to the emotional pain around her only fuels the fire of resentment. Fans who have followed the show for years might remember the early seasons where the wives tried to find harmony, but that fragile balance seems shattered now. Robin's role reminds us how complicated plural marriages can be, especially when feelings of favoritism and exclusion get involved. Her story is one of power, isolation, and the struggle to belong, themes that resonate far beyond just one family. So, what's your take on Robin? Does she deserve the sacred cow title? Or is it just a mask for deeper issues? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This is one of the most divisive and emotional parts of the tell-all. Now, let's take a moment to talk about Christine and Mary, two voices in the family who add different shades to this intense story. Christine's perspective is particularly telling. She makes a powerful statement during the tell-all when she says that if three wives leave a man, it's a sign that something's seriously wrong with him. That's a heavy truth wrapped in a simple sentence. And it hits hard because it points directly at Cody. Christine's words confirm what many fans have suspected for a long time, that the foundation of this plural marriage has crumbled because of the husband's behavior. It's not just about hurt feelings, it's about the emotional survival of the wives and the family as a whole. Christine's honesty here is refreshing, but also painful to hear. It forces us to confront the reality that this lifestyle, at least for the Browns, hasn't worked the way they hoped. Mary brings a different energy to the mix. She's more focused on self-growth and positive thinking, recently sharing moments from her trip to see Mel Robbins and exploring Boston solo. It's almost like a brief escape from the family drama, showing a side of the sister wives world that isn't all tension and conflict. Mary's storyline reminds us that these women are more than just players in a family feud. They're individuals,